Hey, it's Stace here, and I am doing a little bit of watercolor play today. I'm making some cards. I've just been kind of called back to the idea of sending cards out, not just the holidays, which it is now, but also all the time. So I've been kind of inspired by what I've been seeing out there that I've kind of got my creative juices flowing a little bit. And I've been making these little cards that are watercolor. They're super simple, super forgiving, and they clearly look like I made them, but that was the point. And I've got a few more to do, so I'm going to invite you along and maybe inspire you to grab some watercolors or whatever and make some cards and send some cards. And I'm going to talk a little bit about why all this feels like it's so important to me right now. But let me show you what I'm up to. Okay, so these are my little cards. They are 5 by 5, and they're on a pretty sturdy watercolor cardstock. I really did want these to be kind of like postcards in a sense, so that when my friends got them, maybe they might want to stick them on their altar or, something like that. And I'm going to make some envelopes out of the same card stock. They'll be pretty hefty envelopes, but I really wanted kind of like a little matchy-matchy thing going on. And I'll show you how I do the envelopes in another video, but the envelope will be this size, so everything will fit in really nice. It'll be a cute little package. Um, so I am using some watercolors that are the cheapest of the cheapest. I don't even have a brand to tell you what they are. I got these 4 or 5 years ago for a class I was going to teach. It never happened. I've got a ton of these, but they're almost like little samplers. But they've got these little sparkles in there. It's kind of hard to see, but it's got a little bit of an iridescence, and I kind of wanted to play with those this time around. I've got some Posca pens. I've got this little Arteza watercolor pen for the little leaf if I want to do that. I've got a very, very fine micro tip pen. It's 0.25 millimeters, and that's for all the little like outlining and stuff that I'm doing for the black. I've got my stamps. I do kind of love the little clickables. They're sort of a pain to kind of reorganize after you've got them all apart. But I'm kind of notorious for like ending up with a word halfway off of a page or something. And this way I can gauge better like what I'm doing. So I've got those kind of at the ready. And I've got some salt that I'm playing with here. When you put salt on your watercolor, when it's all wet, you get some of this fun little texture. It's like it does something. So that's what all these little splotchy bits are. It's where I put salt, and I probably could have done a whole lot more to make it kind of interesting, but it was kind of fun. So I've been playing around with that. Um, I think that's it. So I'm going to kind of get to it because, I just want to make a bunch of these. I did play with it a little bit, ahead of time. I knew I could make a candle. I knew I could make a tree. And I did play with, did I want a background and would it go all the way out to the edge? I've kind of landed on this little look. It's sort of fun and funky. And my friends know that I make a lot of weird, quirky little art that looks a little homemade. That's okay. But they're going to know this was from me, that I made it. So let's get to it. Let me make a couple more. And I'll say why. I just, I really feel like I want to just start making, sort of people's day by like sending cards. And this is not really the first time that this has kind of, been a thing for me. I kind of right before COVID happened, my mom passed away. So it was literally, I think she died, I don't know, like 2 weeks maybe before we all went into lockdown. So it was all very hard and crazy. Um, but my sister and I spent, I would say, the last 2 months of her life with her. We both kind of went back to California where she lived and stayed there. And the thing that just kind of meant the most were her friends who sent her cards. And for me, it was just so touching. Both my sister and I kind of walked away from that experience thinking like how we both wanted to get back to that idea of like sending some cards to people, just sort of random acts of kindness, in a sense. And then COVID happened, right? And we were all kind of like, well, how is everybody doing? What's going on? And there was this idea for sure that I really did want. I wanted to just to start sort of sending random acts of kindness through the mail and giving people like how often do we get cards these days? Like how special do we feel when that really happens? Um, and it didn't really last very long for me. I was, kind of all gun ho, and then I don't know what happened. So lately, I've just been feeling that again and wanting that. And I kind of feel like, that could really be something that matters a lot to people. So that's kind of what got me started, on this right now. And it's the holidays, and I don't really do the holidays. Um, I'm more of a solstice kind of celebrator. I don't do much of, the traditional stuff anymore. So I thought it would be fun just to kind of surprise everybody with some cards. So I've got this pretty watery, and I'm gonna just throw a ton of salt on here. So I don't know if you can see it, but it's almost like the salt kind of like sucks everything up. So it does kind of change the way the paint kind of moves around. So sometimes, what I'll do while I've got the salt on there before everything kind of gets too dry is I'll even come in with like just a little bit more and just kind of dabble, dabble, dabble a little bit and kind of help help it so that when it dries, there's some really fun and kind of funky movement because that's kind of what I'm going for. And I did sort of shoot for a way to not have it too high, too low, but I sort of ended up right in the middle because I do want to make sure I have some room for my words, which is kind of what always happens. It's like, oh, there's no room for the words. So we'll see how that goes. But this is kind of what I'm doing right now. So I'm gonna just kind of get it nice and watery, and then I'm gonna hit it with the hair dryer. All right, it's got some more to dry for sure, but I'm gonna go ahead and try to make this a little bit more round, since it is supposed to be a little, whatever these things are called. Having, I'm having one of those moments, y'all. One of these little Christmas decoration balls. Ornament. There we go. That's a little closer. All right. I'm just gonna let that cool off for a second, but you can kind of see, right? It's pretty crusty. And I do like to be careful when I'm rubbing it off because sometimes, there's a little bit of, maybe something that's not 100% dry under there. So if I start rubbing it out onto the white, part of the paper, sometimes it can smudge around. So I just try to stay in the lines as I'm gonna kind of rub this stuff off. And I'm just gonna kind of get in there and break it all off and see what I end up with. So that's kind of cool, right? Kind of fun and funky, and I can kind of decide which way the the circle's going to go. That's the closest to a circle, I think. So I'm going to go ahead and put my little top on here, and I'll put my words there, and I'll make a little tree there. So just kind of sticking with the simple thing, the simple theme, I'm going to just kind of put a teeny little top on, and it'll kind of cover up that little extra blotchy part. But how fun would it be to just start to make some fun and funky, super simple little cards and just kind of be the gal who randomly sends things to people when they need a little lift me up? I think that would be awesome. Cool. So now I'm gonna just make a little funny looking tree limb and just go with my gut and kind of have fun with it. And now I'm just gonna come back and get it drippy. I think I need a smaller brush though. Try this. I love things that honestly just don't require precision because I'm in my art. I'm definitely not particularly precise. Um, so I kind of love just having like this sort of green blob and then coming in with the pen, to make it look like something. Just trying to shake up that green a little bit and kind of get it so that when I hit it with the hair dryer, it'll have somewhere to go. Some of this watercolor, so there'll be some movement. All right, let's see what happens. Okay. So I just want to make sure that it's really good and dry before I come and put the pen on it. So I'm gonna let it cool down for a second, make sure that I get all the salt off. Because I could come in and do some embellishments here, but I kind of like this weird, funky thing that's happening there. So all I am going to do is do a little outlining. So I'm going to come all the way around my bauble, my decoration, Christmas ornament. Nothing straight. But I want the lines to meet. And then I will come up here and do this little topper. And then I'll kind of come in here and just like figure out kind of where I want my my tree lines to go. Right. So that's all I've done. And I'm just gonna do kind of follow what I've got in terms of my lines. And that's kind of it. I want something coming right over the top here because I'm gonna come in and make my little loop. So it looks like it's hanging from something. But that's kind of it. Otherwise, it's just a few lines, nothing solid. It's very sketchy. And that is it. Like I could do all kinds of other things. I am not going to. I kind of want it super, super simple. So I'm going to get back now to my statement, which is going to say, breathe in the magic of winter. And I've already got breathe in going on. So I'm going to play with this and I'll just do it and show it to you when I'm done. There. I don't mind when I get these weird little things because it just sort of, in my mind, sort of adds to the charm of it. Um, so yeah, there's a little card right there to kind of go with all the rest. This one I wasn't super happy with because it got super close there, but you know what? That's also just part of the dealio. So I've got a bunch of little cards here to send out in a pretty little package to my friends who I think could use a little pick me up right about now. And how much fun would that be just to kind of get something special? So play with it, make your own, and maybe join me in spreading love, random acts of kindness through the mail. Let's kind of light people's life up. All right, have fun.